Please work. Please work. Long-winded Wednesday.
It's happening.
Okay, good. Good. You better work.
It's happening.
What is up, y'all? Welcome back to Long-Winded Wednesday with Jenny Madrano, Shift Program Manager, and back there behind the scenes, Martin Miller. Hey, y'all, how are you doing? It's been a while. As you can see, we are together in a new place because we live together now as roommates and co-workers. And it's awesome, and we love this apartment. And it's snowing outside, so what the hell is that? I don't know about you. My brain's been fuzzy today all day. So we decided to hop on. We've taken a month break, and we figured let's just start talking about what we're learning, because we're always learning. The goal is you're always integrating inclusion, equity, anti-racism, whether or not you are talking about it. So hopefully we'll do a little bit of that today, and we would love if you have a topic in mind, please put them in the comments. Our brains are kind of tapped out of creative power to think of new things to talk about. So if you're like, hey, I want to hear more about colorism, I want to hear more about tokenism, I want to hear more about cultural appropriation, put it in the comments. Mine.
It's more like we're alive, confirmation of life. Hi y'all, how you doing?
We are alive and well. Hey.
Oh.
So do you have a check-in question for us to start?
Jeez. No, I was just stuffing my face with lunch.
You're drinking a LaCroix now. I want a LaCroix.
Go get
right
back. Let's just awkwardly watch her get her LaCroix.
Don't look at me.
We're waiting, patiently waiting. A check-in question. What's been, I don't want to do the comfort one necessarily.
Advertisement, LaCroix.
What keeps us through the day? What's giving you life? What's helping you through the snow and 2020 and impending doom and all of the work?
Okay, I can work with that. What's giving me life? Feel free to add your answer to the comments. We said that all the time the last couple months and people didn't really do it, but seriously, engage with us.
Some people did, and we didn't respond to them too, so
That's
it's on us.
So we're probably not going to respond to you because it's hard to keep track of things. But
We're going to get better.
Check-in. What has given me life? What's helping me through this thing called 2020? Let's see. A big thing for me is, even though I wake up and I work like 2 feet from my bed, it really helps me to give myself space in the morning to not do work and do some kind of meditation and go with the flow in terms of what that looks like, not super rigid about it anymore. But I try to at least be quiet for 10 minutes. That helps me.
Nice.
What about you?
What usually helps me is moving my body in some regard. So, and getting out to nature, which I was able to do a little bit more this last weekend, which felt really good. I need to feel a sense of freedom sometimes, but mostly also I need to feel like I've used my body and I'm exhausted, not mentally, but physically. So I've been trying to make sure I'm at least walking or yoga or something. That's my intention, at least. Now that we're here, y'all, it's been a journey to find housing.
Oh yeah, that too. That's part of the reason why we have to take August off. Literally, the housing market is wild. And we're renting, we're not even trying to buy. And
that's part of the problem.
Well, yeah, but if we're trying to buy, you need $500,000 for a little hut. on the west side of Denver. Like, it's wild. So, yeah, we ended up renting. And in the end, we found a place that I think fit us pretty well. But hey, let's talk about this. How did systemic oppression show up in our housing
Oh,
journey?
shit.
Talk about intersectionality, right? So I'm holding the identities of being a woman, being a person of color, Chicana, mestiza, being able-bodied, being a citizen of the U.S., all these different things at the same time. And I felt that intersectionality. A single woman without kids or a husband, yes. So I definitely saw that, and I tried not to think about it too much because otherwise I'd move myself into just anger probably and a lot of whatever. But I'm wondering what came up for you. What identities can you think of in terms of were at play in our finding housing journey?
I think all the things that you mentioned, class, race, gender, definitely our singledom. Like, people always were trying to figure us out. Like, you're just friends, you work together.
They're friends.
Like, well, like, how many times, like, really? You're just friends, gonna be roommates? Like, yeah, it's Colorado. Literally, everyone has roommates. Yeah, and even trying to find, like, part of it was trying to navigate it, make sure we both were getting what we wanted and needed in the house too. And so there was a lot of houses that we came to, like, the master was like half the house. And then the second bedroom, which I would have been occupying, was like this teeny tiny kids room. So yeah, like the glaringness of like singledom definitely was, oh, you don't have a family? Well, good luck.
You don't matter. And it's like there was so much competition out there. Like, every house we looked at, there was usually a line of people following us to rent it. And for the most part, it was couples.
Yeah.
It was heterosexual couples.
Yeah.
And I really felt like there was this sense of like, if you don't have kids, like, are you really a family occupying this house? And for the neighborhoods we looked at that were super family friendly, I felt like there was a prejudice against us for that reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like we tried different ways to like introduce ourselves, and like one place we thought we had it figured out, and we're like giving them our whole spiel about building bridges and what we do, and then that landed real bad. And then
We think they were racist.
They definitely were racist. Yeah, so navigating that, again, like what we constantly as friends navigate around race was just always apparent all the time. And like even like when we were like talking to people, like people giving you eye contact or not, or referring to you or not, like there's just little nuances throughout the whole thing of like, holy shit, like something that feels like it should be, like it's a general need, it's something people do. You move, you find a new home. But yeah, it was rough. And I think also like we work for a nonprofit, like that felt really real too. Like people wanted proof of income. And I know like we're in the middle of COVID, and we're in the middle of people losing homes for various reasons. And like, I know landlords and folks who are trying to rent, like there's a lot that's happening that everyone's experiencing on both ends. And yet, yeah, the competition was really real. And just like there was like this sense of permission that folks who were renting out, like they literally could pick between 10 people.
So you're gonna go with income.
You're totally gonna go with income. You're not gonna go with the ladies who
like, oh, they had a good spirit about them. No, they want people who are gonna pay their rent and then some. And yeah, I feel like class showed up so many times. Like, y'all, there was this one moment where it was like class was blatantly in my face, as well as maybe the intersectionality of race. Yeah. We went to see this apartment. We finally started looking at apartments because we're like, you know what, this housing thing, this is really competitive. We went to an apartment in Westminster, I think, and the nice little dude, I don't blame him, he's just the one has to work there. He sat us down, he's like, so I just have a couple questions. How many bedrooms are you looking for? Da, 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 da. Have you lived in the same place for the last 12 months? And I was like, technically, I've moved No, it wasn't 12 months. It was for the past 3 years. It was the past
Yes,
2 or 3
because
years.
then I was like, oh, I've been
Yeah.
at Prana Apartments for 3
so
years.
Lauren's like, yeah, that fits my thing. And I was like, no. I've moved like 4 times in the past 3 years. He's like, well, unfortunately, that's an additional
$1,000 at least, like
$1,000. You had to pay $1,000 extra dollars.
on top of what was already going to be the deposit, which some places was like 2 times month's rent. So it was like, yeah, when he said that, we both were like,
Yeah, I was just like, what the hell? Like, okay, cool. Thanks for punishing me for systemic oppression that was already happening. Why do you think I was moving all those times? The assumption is, oh, she must be a bad renter. That person must be unstable, unreliable, irresponsible. I'm like, no, that's just literally I had to chase the spaces. Luckily, I found good people to live with each time. I had to chase spaces that I could afford. Because it's been so hard to do this journey as a rising entrepreneur who has to do paycheck to paycheck and figure out housing. And the way that I've done it is living with friends who don't do a background check, who don't, I mean, all the shit, the hoops we have to jump through.
and I think part of it too, like part of when we first started as well, like you literally have to put money down, even in the form of an application pretty much every time. And so there was this element of, do we like it enough to spend $50 more? And like, if we keep doing this, what is that going to mean? Like how many hundreds of dollars are we going to spend by just filling out an application? And some people did return it, but there were a lot of people who did not. And so it was just a matter, there was like that stopping us, I think, a lot of like.
It's so stupid. What stopped us from applying to some of the places was an application fee, y'all. Like, and literally for us, $50, it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, it mattered even more because we weren't even guaranteed full-time positions at Building Bridges yet. So that was part of this whole game. Like, okay, we're trying to do this good work at Building Bridges and BDZI consultants. And people watch us and listen to us and learn from us, and they assume that we're just like these high-rolling consultants, when in reality, we're still working for a nonprofit. We're still making below livable income in Denver, Colorado. So I don't know. That was frustrating too. And I think one nuance that I noticed was every time Maren said where we work for, she's like, "Oh, we work for a nonprofit," and I'd be like,
"Oh, really?
Yeah,
we never talked about that."
No, and I'd be like, "Say we're DEI consultants." That sounds like we are more. And I've been conditioned as a person of color to not tell people that I work for a nonprofit because because they assume I have no money.
And white people, we say that we work for a nonprofit because we're one of those good white people.
And they assume that if you say you work for a nonprofit, they're going to assume that your parents are going to help you.
Well, that was one moment. I did say that one day too, because I was like, I know this is what he wants to hear from me. Like that I have some sort of backup, and that I literally could say that I have generational wealth. I have like my family that I can lean back on. Like that, I literally did say that at one of our places.
Yeah, because that dude was like, well, he was problematic. He was like, we don't need to wear masks. Here's a beer. And I was like, whoa. But then he was like, so what happens if your business doesn't fail? And I'm just like, you wouldn't ask that to one, a fucking man, and maybe two, if we're both white. Like, what are you doing questioning the future of, it's just, there was so much fuckery. There's no other word to describe it.
I think it's good though. Thanks for listening, y'all.
I guess we have to process through everything that went down in the past couple of months.
Yeah, there was a lot. I feel like there was something else that spurred my memory, but now I'm forgetting it.
There was so much. Like there's more. I know that there was one thing. It's just like I was so, and I wouldn't be aware of this had I not gone on trips with the Wayfaring Band and been thinking about ability and disability. I was just like so surprised that all these apartment complexes don't have elevators.
There's so many.
They just don't. You just have to walk 3 flights of steps to get to the apartment, and that's fine. And of course you got this crew of people living there that's majority white, majority able-bodied, majority middle upper class, and it's just like, I don't understand how it's 2020 and you're not thinking about having a fucking elevator. It's just, it really took me aback, and I don't think it would have a year ago even.
Yeah. I felt like we went on a lot of dates.
Yeah. And some
That
of
too,
them-
like energy wise. Like,
and some of them were terrible.
it's not good.
And we both, it's like we're dating together.
Yes.
Other people together.
Yes.
So like sometimes I felt like we had a pretty good date, and Mara was like, man, the energy was off. And I was like, okay.
Like I
I'll
had
trust
red
you.
eyes.
Yeah, I'll
Literally red
trust you.
eyes.
And then sometimes Ryan would be like, that was great. And I'd be like, that was like hard to bear. So it was an experience. And both of us are such individual, independent people. I come from a collective culture. So I say in a lot of ways I am still collective, but now I've grown to be really independent. And so it was that too of like, well, I know I could do this by myself. I even mentioned that to Mara. I'm like, should we just do this on our own? Because
Yeah.
that would be easier.
We both got it.
And
There are
then-
both many moments like, should we cut and run? Like, you could probably find a place next week. I could find a place now. Like,
you go to Boulder,
yeah.
I'll go to Denver, because we kept doing this
Kind of
halfway
doing
thing,
between thing.
and that was really hard. But in the end, I'm glad we did it, because like this is something I know I need to work and grow on in terms of like being more dependent on people, and it's been said to me that that's an area of growth for me. So something I'm leaning into.
I'm laughing because ditto. And that's part of what like put me in or kept me in too. Like, if you're going to navigate this with anyone and come out, it's going to be with Jenny. And Jenny's the closest I have to any form of a partner at this point. Like that there is this element of this is hard, and that's I think part of what I've definitely had to go through as well. Like, because I lived abroad, I've traveled by myself, I've done so many things by myself, and ultimately now I prefer that because that, like, well, if I want chocolate, I'll go get chocolate. If I want pizza and go sit at that place and read, then I'll do that. Versus like, are you okay? Am I okay? Is that room okay? No, it didn't work for you. It's not working for me. Yeah, the whole thing. It was a lot. On top of trying to work together.
Y'all, at the same time, we had to work so much. Like we were booked, we've been booked, we're still booked. And it was like the surge that happened at the end of June and beginning of July in terms of interest of DEI and anti-racism work. It was all planned for August and September, well, July and August. So in the same time that we were trying to find a place to survive, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs is playing out. And it's like, we don't even have a place guaranteed that we're going to live. So how are we supposed to do this self-actualization and teach other people how to self-actualize? Somehow we did it.
I feel like I'm still recovering.
Yeah. And so
I'm not
last
okay.
week off, completely off. I was like, I don't care if your building's on fire. I'm just kidding. No, that's a bad joke.
That's not a great joke right
Oh.
now. No, take that. You do care.
Yeah, I do care. But probably not going to respond to emails last week, and it didn't. And for the most part, and I feel like I needed that. But really, it was just a reminder again to me, like the work we do is so much a privilege. It is so much a luxury to lean into this stuff on a daily basis, to be able to self-actualize and talk about liberation or talk about privilege and oppression or what anti-racism looks like in your life. Like if you're living day to day and you're paycheck to paycheck and you're barely eating, unaware if you're going to make rent, it's just the last thing you want to do is like go learn. So it's just, that was a reminder too.
Yeah, we had it, and just like, I don't know, there's just so many like multiple lessons and layers to it for sure. And like the reason that we were looking together was because of COVID. If COVID hadn't happened, I don't think that would have ever been on the table, honestly. Or
Yes.
I don't know if we've ever would get to the point of like, is that something that we should even consider? If we had remained, I think we would have just both continued to go by ourselves. So that has been interesting too, in terms, and as well as just I don't know. I think that's where we were rubbing a little bit as well of like what we dream and what we want in terms of house and space and all those things. And then like the real reality that we kept coming up against. And literally, yeah, like there's so many places that we were the top, people would tell us we're the top 3,
Yeah, you're
top
the top
5.
candidate. It
Like
felt
really liked us.
It felt like an interview process or something where you keep getting to the top 3 and you get rejected.
Yeah. And yet, here we are. We have housing. We have a home. We have work. So.
Yeah, but it's like such a funny reminder that like even when we're not working, even when we're doing life,
Yeah.
you can't unsee this stuff anymore. When you start to really lean into systemic oppression. And before, for me, it was like only race. Like I could only see things through a race lens. And then after building bridges the past 3 years, I'm like, ugh, I don't want to see this, but I do see it, and it's really irking me, and I wish it didn't, because it doesn't directly affect me, but it does. And what do I do about that?
Yeah.
So that's been interesting.
And I don't know, on a like collective level, isn't that kind of what's happening? Like more and more folks are seeing things, and whether it's race, whether it's class, whether it's having a home or not, like there's ultimately more and more just coming to the surface that folks are willing to see or willing to acknowledge and are being irked by it. And that is like huge question that we keep getting. And we are living out ourselves of like, what do I do with all this information? What do I do with what's happening out there? What do I do about my own self-care and my own self-worth and my own like that push and pull of like, literally the world's on fire, literally. And how do I
continue to say literally?
Literally, no, literally. Literally, we're in Colorado. No, Colorado. I was actually directing towards Washington and California.
Don't
Sorry, not you. No, I did not mean it that way.
No, okay.
And the Cameron Peak here in Colorado is north. Is that direction?
I do not get directions.
So. Anyway, so if you are also experiencing that, like, what the fuck is happening? What do I do about it? Us too? Me too?
Well, for me, at this point, I don't know how long this is going to last, but I just feel so grateful and actually a lot of joy. And so I find myself feeling like, am I allowed to feel this? Like, am I allowed to feel happy right now? How much should I share that as a person of color, as a person in general? And so I don't know if you're out there feeling that, but like life comes in such waves, you know? And I think for me, I've learned that as much as I can hold on to gratitude and joy, the more I get anchored. And without it, like, I just feel like if I allowed myself to like fully dive into certain emotions, sometimes it feels overwhelming, especially when I'm dealing with the topic of race every fucking day. So that's one method I've used, but we'll see how long it lasts. Maybe next week I'll be like, I'm not happy at all or something. Hope it lasts long.
I hope it does. I feel like it was a therapy session.
No.
Oh, we just needed a space to vent. We had some watchers.
We did.
We're gonna be back here, y'all. And if you have any suggestions for topics, you let us know.
And I'm excited because we are going to transition this live. I think we're going to continue with the videos because it's fun to like see y'all, but then move the audio into a podcast as well. So if that's your jam, for me, that's more my jam to like hear something as I'm cooking or walking or whatever. That's going to be available too. We're working with our intern, Malcolm Quattlebaum, to make that happen.
And I know we can get these videos onto Instagram. In our Instagram
we'll
live.
figure it out.
There's just that constant. We're trying to do the best we can. There's only so much you can do.
The best that we can.
But
yeah.
What are you noticing about your different identities that you hold? What experiences are you having? And which one of those are feeling up right now, feeling rubbed, feeling relevant.
Yes. Have you had an experience like that recently where it's like, wow, all these things are on display and I'm trying to just live my life and I can't unsee these things unraveling in terms of privileged and oppressed identities? If you haven't, or you're like, I don't really think about disability. I don't really think about class that much, or being single, or being in a relationship.
Get curious about that.
Yes.
Why is that?
Facilitate them. What about you? That's a checkout for you.
Oh, that's a checkout for me?
No. I'm going to ask you.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. We always ask people in our sessions this. What is one takeaway that you have from our session? And I want to ask you, what is one takeaway or lesson you've learned from our housing journey together?
Whoa, what is one takeaway? I have been relearning just patience and strategery around understanding my own identities and what's at play, and like how to wield them in ways that work, and then how to be more cognizant of others. That feels very vague. I think more just like sometimes shit is hard and wanting it to be different has not helped at all. I've created my own suffering in so many ways this last month. I just don't want to be here and don't want this to be happening, and that doesn't happen. How about you?
One lesson I learned from our housing journey. Put myself on the spot with that one.
It's a hard
I
one.
thought about it.
There's a lot.
So I know there's so many things. What do I talk about? Do I talk about this? Do I talk about that? Do I talk about this?
Oppression exists?
Yeah, right? I think I have this back and forth relationship with luxury and with nice things and being bougie. And I think I have learned that the more I lean into that and that inherent, it's a personality trait, it's a Taurus, it's a whatever trait, like the more I lean into that, the more empowered I feel. I don't have to be ashamed about it, and I don't have to pretend that I'm not that. And I think it's okay to treat yourself at times for how hard you've worked. And I feel like more people of color, we can learn how to do that more. It's long-winded Wednesday. We can actually do this in person. How often can people do this in videos? That's it, y'all.
We'll be
See you
back
next week.
Wednesdays,
12:30, hopefully we'll be
12:30.
on time.
Mountain Standard Time. We won't be on time, but not as late as this time.
Bye.